This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills, powered by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. I am one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Erik Turner. And Erik, the Bills stay in the win column against the New England Patriots. That's 2 in a row after losing to the Rams a couple weeks ago. Maybe potentially for some people an unimpressive win in a multitude of areas, which I'm sure we'll talk about as we get into both sides of the ball from the Buffalo Bills victory at home against the New England Patriots, the first of multiple matchups against the Pats within a short span to end the season here. But the Bills stay positive, stay strong these past couple weeks, beat the Pats. How you feeling about the game? How you feeling overall? It's Christmas Eve.
I know.
Christmas is tomorrow. Very excited.
No, I'm excited. Obviously, a win's a win. I mean, let's start at the top. A win's a win, albeit it was ugly. Albeit it started off very sluggish. I thought the Bills made the adjustments needed. All right, without showing too much going into the playoffs in a few weeks. And so I feel like during the game when it was live, there were moments of frustration. But then, as is typically the case, when we put on the all 22. We watched the film briefly today. It made me feel better. I feel like whether you're talking offense or defense, things started to slow on those sides of the ball early. But once you got past like a quarter and a half, things kind of settled in and the identities of both teams kind of unfolded. And then they started to really, counter punch and punch back. And of course, in the end, the Bills came out on top. So it's Christmas. It's the holiday. I'm off for a few days for Christmas. I get to spend it with the family. But today we're going to be breaking down the film from the Patriots and Bills game. And you know what? I'm excited, man.
Yeah, me too. And, I agree with a lot of your sentiments and thoughts overall with this game. Obviously, we're going to unpack both sides of the ball. We're going to start with the offense, then get to the defense. But before we get to either, want to bring up this graphic from our friends over at BetUS. We are updating the AFC playoff chances. We spoke about this last week on the show, and so we have some further updates after what we've seen thus far in this week. So Kansas City Chiefs currently in that 1 seed. They've clinched. The Bills at the 2, the Steelers at the 3, Houston at the 4. All 4 of those teams have clinched. And as you folks can see here on the graphic, but for those listening on the audio platforms, the Ravens are currently at the 5 spot, 99% chance at the playoffs. The Broncos currently in the 6 spot, 91% chance there. The Chargers in the 7th spot, 88% chance. After them, the closest is the Colts with a 10% chance. So right now, Erik, as we talked about last week, the top 7 really kind of rounding into form. Not much changed that versus our discussion last week. The Broncos and the Chargers currently both tied at 9-6. The Ravens ahead of them at 10-5. So we could see some movement and shaking between 5 and 7. The Steelers are also tied with the Ravens in terms of record, both at 10-5. The Steelers also play the Chiefs, so we could see the Ravens end up winning that AFC North. So there's a lot of potential movement and shake-in between the 3 spot, the 5, 6, and 7 spot. Really looks like these teams are started to lock in, but where they seed out is really going to kind of move and shake a little bit potentially as we go forward, which obviously impacts the Bills if they get that 2 seed, who they see in that first round and how things move forward really can kind of get impacted.
Right. And, regardless of how it unfolds, I just looking at these teams with the higher percentage chance of making the playoffs, it really starts to get me excited when it comes to just matchups and the storylines behind them and some of the franchise. You're talking like the Steelers, some like old franchises, some teams that somehow they're gutting it out. I said it a few weeks ago when things started to develop when it came to the playoffs and predictions and whatnot. Seeing them up there and having the season they are at, they've kind of shocked me. Baltimore is still obviously a matchup we don't really want to see. But even like the teams like Denver, like their defense can ball out, and can give, regardless of what offense you're looking at in the AFC, can give those teams issues from that side of the ball. So, I mean, even the Chargers with like the new regime they got there and coaching staff they got there, and how they're playing with their offense and the style that they're playing, it's different than what we're used to. So overall, I'm excited so far. I'm in the end, I'm still like, hey, I don't care who they see in the first round. I do think the Bills' chances against any of these teams is very good. So when it comes to that, just whatever, just get in, get into the playoffs healthy, and go from there. Any of these teams, it's going to be a tough matchup, regardless of who they are.
Yeah, there's no easy outs majority of the time whenever you get to the playoffs. I'm going to similar to both. I would like to avoid Baltimore at all costs. I'd actually, despite the fact that, the playoff Chiefs have had the Bills number, I would rather play the Chiefs than play the Ravens. I still think, and this may be crazy, like if everything clicks for a team in the AFC the way like a team would want it to, I still think the Ravens are like this buzzsaw that can run through anyone at any moment at any time for a lot of ways, especially from the offensive side of the ball.
Oh, they're a matchup nightmare when it comes to that, right? With the different personnel groupings they use, and then of course you have the wild card at the quarterback position that can do it all. I mean, much like the Bills quarterback.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's a tough matchup for any of these teams, any of these defenses.
Yeah, and there are some fun things like I would like to see the Bills play the Chargers. You got Herbert, you got heavy personnel
Mhm,
and the run game coming through. Denver with Peyton and what he's done with Bo Nix. And they're, like you
mhm,
said, their defense, everybody knows about Pat Surtain, but what Bonito has done this year, Zach
mhm.
Allen has had a quietly good year for them. Like they've got some fun guys. Yeah, there's a lot of potential for some exciting matchups, albeit stressful ones potentially for the Bills. And then obviously moving and shaking going forward. Big eyes, obviously, on if the Bills are the 2, like we talked about last week, if the Bills are the 2 and the Chiefs are the 1, you guarantee that you do not see the Chiefs until the AFC Championship. Granted, if the Chiefs are the 1, it would be in Kansas City.
Yeah.
This graphic, of course, presented by our friends at BetUS. And if you are looking for a new sports book this football season, BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest payouts in the industry. They give you a 150% bonus on your first deposit and then a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000, all with code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. They have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year, live wagering on all major games, the best betting variety in the business. They allow you to get 10% back on your net losses twice a year, and they also can give you your very own personal account manager. Head over to BetUS for all of your sportsbook and betting needs, football wise or other. Erik, start to transition a little bit now into this Bills Patriots film. We'll start with the potential sweeter option here, also kind of pun intended because of hashtag vanilla. The Bills offense in this game. Overarching thoughts coming out of the broadcast versus the film. Where's your head at as we start to dissect the Bills' performance offensively against the Patriots defense?
I kind of alluded to it at the top. I thought it was, pretty vanilla. And I mean, obviously Josh told us that. So
Yeah.
when you popped on the film, you could see that there wasn't anything too special, especially if we're talking the passing game. I think I'll be specific with that. I think the passing game was pretty vanilla
Mhm.
until those moments, third downs, late in games, until you had those gotta have it moments, right? Where you gotta have your best play. You gotta show some different wrinkles so that they don't catch on to the play, which we'll break down a few of those. I think that's when the Bills really busted out some things that the Patriots maybe weren't ready for or hadn't seen before. I thought what the Patriots did and what their scheme does to Josh all the time and has for many years is they kind of hide who the spy is going to be. Sometimes
Mm.
it was a safety dropping down. Sometimes that safety wasn't a second level linebacker. Sometimes it was just a linebacker that is super athletic and with speed. And I thought the way they did things with some of their spies and changing up who that spy was very interesting. But the other thing that they do well against opposing offenses is hide who's like covering a tight end or who's covering a running back. And they do this so well, and it's because of the athleticism they have at the safety position. But those guys will be in a too high shell. And then all of a sudden, when the ball snap with the running back in the backfield, and as that running back flares out or runs some kind of crossing route, they will drop down from the too high look and become in man coverage.
Mm.
And so it causes some issues pre to post snap because the picture's changing from that too high look, and then they're rolling into something cool. And that safety that was at 12 to 15 yards is now covering James Cook. And so they did some cool things to get Josh to kind of slow down his processor.
Mm.
And I think that comes back to the scheme that the Patriots show and the versatility and athleticism they have at that third and sometimes even at that second level.
Yeah, good call. Even without Jabril Peppers, you having
Mhm.
Duggar and Mapu,
Mapu
those two
was
especially.
fun to watch.
Yeah, man. The one that really got me, I mean, he had a couple, but That one he almost intercepted
The
on the
crosser.
over.
The
Yeah,
crosser.
he
Yeah.
reads it and turns with it, and the acceleration out of the slow turn, it
Mhm.
honestly, like, it should have been an interception. It went right through his hands. Like, he made a great play,
Yeah.
broke on it. It should have been an interception, and who knows what the game does then if there's that interception at that moment. But yeah, he had a couple really nice plays, but it like you said, and they've had this for years, right? At that safety
Mhm.
position where you've got all these guys who can play at the second and third level. Who's playing where? What coverage are they in? How are they getting to it? How are they disguising in it? And I like your call about the second level too. Having like Tavai and Ellis, even some of the things they do with
Brendan
like,
Schooler, right? Like that
yes,
guy too, that I guess he's listed as a safety or strong safety, but
yeah,
what he did in that spy roll too was interesting. And he was just flying at Josh when he left, almost like how the Bills used Milano with that aggressive spy.
Mhm.
He was hawking Allen a bunch and just kind of bouncing around, getting Josh to like, hey, look at me, look at me. I thought it was interesting what they did with him too.
Yeah, and you take a guy who obviously doesn't have the size with Allen, but the speed and the juice, and he was not afraid to trigger
Mhm.
quickly. I felt bad that he got caught up. He got caught up on the mesh traffic in the low red zone on Cook, poor guy. But yeah, this felt very. And again, I guess it would kind of make sense from Mayo, but some of the things they sent in Allen's way just kind of followed that Bill Belichick script a little bit in terms of what you're trying to take away and how you get there, and even with being depleted a little bit in terms of injuries and bodies. Overall in that defense, yeah, I kind of like their game plan, what they threw. You hit the big one for me. The vanilla, really applied to the passing game. And we're going to talk about several of these run plays. We have several examples, but I really like them building on what they did last week against Detroit in terms of continuing to work in like traditional counter, which they don't do. But then we got some wrinkles with the sixth offensive lineman and some blast motion into it. I thought Alec Anderson had a good game overall, but especially in those looks. Reggie Gilliam, the way they were able to just attack with personnel and formation, but a couple new wrinkles on that offensive side of the ball. I really am enjoying that. Just we've talked about it so much on this show. Mid zone and duo and dart and all the tackle pull stuff. And then the last couple of weeks, it's like, well, here's some counter and
Yeah.
here's some pistol, like
Yeah.
that too. All the pistol usage
Pistol,
yesterday.
offset pistol
Yep.
with Gilliam. I mean, Gilliam had 18 snaps.
Yep.
That's
Crazy.
one of the big storylines we're going to talk about and show you the film, having him at 18 snaps. They ran a lot of 21 personnel.
Mhm.
They used him almost like a second tight end in many ways with an extra offensive lineman. So I call it 20 personnel. So they put him, Gilliam, and a running back in there with no tight ends, but they'd use Alec Anderson,
Yep.
as we'll show, right, as an extra offensive lineman. I mean, in those packages, that 20 personnel look, 9 plays, 86 yards, 6 points. And like you said, they spammed outside zone. They ran outside zone, but pitched it. So
Yep.
again, it's the same blocking, but they pitched it.
Yep.
They did the counter tray variations or whatever you want to call those plays where they're in pistol and the run game. There
Yes.
was some cool wrinkles.
Yes.
That's why we're saying the pass game was a little more vanilla. And I think that this is fun because it's putting that much more, as we always say,
Mhm.
that much more on the defensive coordinator's plate as the season progresses. And at the same time, not showing the goods they need in the playoffs.
I really like that a lot too, not just to kind of like build on the love for Joe Brady, but yeah, I like the kind of like, okay, we're gonna go to the vanilla aspect of the pass game, but here's these further wrinkles for the run. Here's these new things that we maybe showed once or twice. Now we're showing it 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. So it's cool to kind of, step on the brakes a little bit with one and step on the gas a little bit with the other, and all kind of coming together at the end of the season and how you prepare for it. Yeah, very, very exciting potential and prospects for this offense. And we start right out with this play, Erik, with the play. Well, one of several plays, I should say, with Alec Anderson in pistol for the Bills, Reggie Gilliam in that offset alignment, something they went to multiple times in this game and had good amounts of success with it.
Yeah, and this is our easy loan auto sales play of the game right off the bat. We're coming in with a bang. Bills are down 14-0 here at top of the second quarter. And as you said, some of the cool stuff with Gilliam, Cook in there. Alec Anderson is the offline tight end in quotes. And James Cook on this, wide zone looking run is able to get into the end zone. And as much as this is a touchdown for Cook, he's got to shout out his offensive lineman, which I know he did on social media today because this is poetry in motion, Anthony, for this easy loan auto sales play of the game. We're going to give this award this week to the offensive line. So let's start off with, again, Alec Anderson is that extra offensive lineman. It's essentially, a strong eye formation, but it's in pistol. All right. And just watch from left to right the offensive lineman work. So Dawkins, Edwards, they're working that lineman that's head up over Dawkins to the second level linebacker, number 48. Watch on the snap, McGovern chop down the hands and reach that nose tackle. Watch how those all develop right there. You see the chop down. Look at the communication between Edwards and Dawkins. Edwards is non-verbally just on his back, touching his back and saying, hey, you can climb. I got the guy at the first level. McGovern sealing his block. Look at the angle by Osiris Torrance there to cut off that defender and wash him down as Cook, has to cut it back. But this is the other effect of this, of the quarterback, Josh Allen. Look at all of the eyes and defenders on that QB keeper. This is why when you're a quarterback coach, you're always telling your quarterback, whether he's under center or in pistol or in shotgun, carry out your fakes. Carry out your fakes, because look at how many defenders are essentially watching Josh Allen. And that's important, because I want you to keep an eye on this guy right here, Kyle Duggar. Watch how that holds him. And as Cook cuts it back, he's not in position to make a good tackle. And that is why Cook is off to the races for 6.
Great call. And just, you'll see this even with someone like Jared Goff, who is not a threat with his legs, but that action, that boot action is enough to hold a defender, or maybe even 2 sometimes. But when you're an actual running threat or threat on the ground, the hold on the back end that causes for the defense, it just changes the math that much more. And when you are running those zone runs, you're leaving that backside edge defender uncovered. There's 3 defenders essentially being taken out of the run fit. And like you said, Jennings 33, he's not going to end up making this play. But if Duggar isn't held by Allen, he has the opportunity to kind of scrape down that line of scrimmage and make the tackle on Cook at roughly the 40-yard line, or at least impede him some way.
Right.
So it's a great call out for those 3 getting held back. And you mentioned the others. I'm not going to add on too much. Great job from McGovern with the hand usage, on the snap, getting into position, turning so quick, so technical, and then just completely turning, shielding. Just a really good job there. Osiris Torrance getting to the second level, getting on his giddy up a little bit. And then you highlighted the communication between Doc and Edwards. I also like Reggie Gilliam, widening the hole a little bit, giving Cook that opportunity, but Cook ends up, puncturing the defense and getting north and south. This is also another benefit too, I think, from the pistol. There's multiple, and we talked about them a lot, but that opportunity to create a runway for your running back, and with someone like James Cook, with the juice and speed that he has, and how good of a zone runner
that one cut ability.
Yeah, he's improved as a gap scheme runner with his time in the NFL, but going back to his time at Georgia, that bread and butter for him was that zone scheme. He flows like water so well, and again, with that athleticism and those type of cuts, we talked about it last week. It's not the sharpest. It's almost like he just decides to turn. Like if you're playing Madden, instead of hitting R1 or L1, you just round out the, left stick a little bit and kind of round it. And man, that juice, it showed up multiple times in this game, that ability to get north and south. And again, great call. Like that Duggar piece, he's close, but because he comes north a little bit to try and get Allen, it stops him from getting horizontal and making that play, and Cook is off to the races.
Yeah, just awesome stuff. And again, this is a touchdown for Cook, but the assist and really this award, the Easy Loan Auto Sales Play of the Game, should go to the offensive line. This is blocked up really well. And, of course, kudos to Cromer, as is often the case in the film room. We got to give him his love as what he's doing with this offensive line. In this game and this season has been tremendous. And I will say, as a little teaser, this is probably not the last time we're going to mention him in this film room. So if you like offensive line play, you're going to get a lot of that. If you like fullback play, you're going to get a lot of that tonight in the film room.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cromer's been crushing it. Even the little addition here of that extra wide split, not extra wide split, but the wide split from Deion Dawkins being a little, cherry on top, as we've seen from him throughout the entirety of the year, being a piece on this play. Yeah. Shout out to the O-line. Shout out to Cromer. Shout out to Cook, but Cromer and that O-line, especially for being part of this, making it look easy loan auto sales play of the game. Sponsored, of course, by our friends at Easy Loan Auto Sales, who, regardless of your credit situation, Easy Loan can help get you behind the wheel and on the road to better credit. All of their vehicles include a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty, and they have 3 convenient locations in Buffalo, Lockport, and Niagara Falls. They can get you driving today. Go to easyloanauto.com to start your accelerated approval.
All right, so next play of this breakdown, we're going to go to their counter play. So this is the fourth quarter. We're fast forwarding a little bit. Bills are now up 17-14. But this was something, again, 20 personnel. So Gilliam and Cook are in on this play. There's no tight ends, but their quasi tight end is Alec Anderson. And this is that counter trade play. They ran a few different times, sometimes with Davis, sometimes with Cook. And on this one, you can see Cook really just, follow the guys out and ahead of him to get the first down here. So once again, watch Alec Anderson right to left on your screen. He's coming across to kick out. And they do this to get the angle, right? So you're getting the kick out on that end man on the line of scrimmage. You're getting that kick out block, and then Gilliam's leading up inside. There's some nice patience by Cook, and Gilliam's getting a piece of, I think that's Duggar on the other side of Dawkins there. And then Cook, once again, just kind of accelerates outside for a nice game. So it's nice to see these type of wrinkles, right? And like, it's a different variation of a gap run, and they're getting to it from pistol. Again, you're making things very difficult for the defense because now you're still including Josh as a possible runner. They have to account for someone on the backside, even though Josh handed it off here.
Absolutely. I love this play. And all the variations they ran of it. And you're seeing this in college. You're seeing it a bit in the NFL. The Packers do it a bunch with Tucker Kraft. You get that motion from Alec Anderson, that blast motion. And essentially, even though he's not a guard here, it essentially just plays out like, GF counter,
Yes.
but you are doing it from that extra offensive lineman, the look, the change. And this is all, we talked about it a bit and alluded to it. This is all newer for the Bills. They're not a big counter running team. They don't do that a lot. They started doing it a bit last week against Detroit, continued it in this game. So counter as a concept is one they do not really lean into or use that often. And then on top of this being counter, this variation of it with the blast motion, with Gilliam, with pistol, the offset look, all of it, this is what we're talking about when we mention these fun little wrinkles that they're adding to the menu and the play sheet that defenses are going to have to account for going forward. And like you said, the blocking angles, as it's highlighted here on the bottom, I love the way this one plays out. I also like how this also takes advantage a little bit of the Patriots personnel that they're in, with Kyle Duggar being at that second level. It's Duggar matched up against Gilliam, and Gilliam gets him good. You get that kick out from Anderson, big on big. Gilliam's coming through, and Gilliam just gets a real good chunk with Duggar, as you have highlighted right here. He scoops right around Deion Dawkins, gets to that second level. Kyle Duggar is still an awesome safety, but that's a tough matchup for him against a big-bodied physical dude like Gilliam. Hawkins, 21, is able to kind of make the play, and then Duggar comes off. But this is a solid 8-yard gain out of a concept that the Bills have slowly been introducing and adding some wrinkles on top of it. And, even shout out to McGovern climbing to the second level, getting a block on Tavai there, 48. This is an offensive line and, coached by Aaron Kromer, of course, that continues to find success in a variety of concepts and a variety of run schemes, which only helps this offense.
Yeah, and the thing with using Anderson as a quasi-puller versus their guard or tackle, they did use a tackle once or a couple times, but usually these inside linebackers or these backers right here or quasi backers, usually they're reading the triangle. It's usually the center and two guards. And
that flash of color.
And usually it's one of those guys. Once they're usually getting like a back block and a puller, right? And so they're not getting that. They're getting almost like split flow or just the formation changing on the snap. And they have to process that on the snap. There's a slight delay, and that's what allows McGovern to get to the front side shoulder of that linebacker. So that's why that matters. Using that extra offensive lineman in that manner on the snap is such a big thing because it screws with the keys of the linebackers at that second level. And so now going back to kind of the first play, it was more of like a wide zone, outside zone run. Well, on this play, same personnel, 20 personnel, extra offensive lineman. This is essentially the same blocking, but Josh is under center. They have Gilliam and Anderson to the top of the screen. But instead of handing it off from under center to the running back, it's just a pitch. But it's the same blocking, right? And it's still outside zone type blocking with Josh under center. So Anderson, Gilliam, watch how they work on the front side of this play to seal off the edge to allow the running back to get out there. Look at that teamwork and the hand usage right there by Anderson. Look at him chop down the hands right there and then kick out that edge defender. I mean, it's something that I'm sure our man Aaron Kromer would love. Why, Anthony? Because
hand.
I knew it.
It's just too easy. It's just too easy. I love it. We gotta work it in any way we can, but just great hand usage, great technique, and a good call. And props to Ty Johnson, man. They ran this several times in this game to him. They count on him early in drives at times, and they counted on him late in the game to really run the clock out, where they ran this like 3 or 4 times in a row, and they were almost all successful.
Yeah, he's been just a real, it feels, and again, the sample size is small, but it just feels like whenever he's on the field, it's a positive play for this offense, or especially for him. And, again, there could be some underlying things or different pieces here or there, but him being the running back that they chose to close this game out yesterday, I thought was really cool for him. He's the best pass protector from the running back position on this team. We've highlighted that multiple times on this show, and what he can do between the run and the pass, and a little bit of physicality. He's got a little bit of juice, a little bit of north and south. He's a tough runner. He runs behind his pads. You see it a little bit on the finish with this one. But again, that, kind of similar concept out of a different alignment formationally, similar personnel grouping, different front response that you get from the Patriots, but just having this group be so well coached and executing to this level. Yeah, the hand usage from Alec Anderson. This is your sixth offensive lineman. And granted, he gets a good
against
amount
Keon White too, right?
Yeah,
that guy's a baller.
Yeah, he's having a good year. The athleticism is starting to translate a little bit, but Anderson's able to get him, take advantage of him being a younger player here. And when you see these type of techniques translate to your 6 offensive linemen or your tight ends, like we see Dawson Knox use, you have good hand usage and placement. Again, it's just another example of the teachings of Aaron Kromer really starting to take hold across. And this is, again, another fun aspect for this offense. When you can attach more bodies to the line of scrimmage, you can get to more in your run game. The ability to just mash. O'Cyrus Torrence, again, climb into the second level, gets a matchup on Duggar, is able to mash him a little bit. Spencer Brown is throwing his man to the ground. The physicality and the athleticism and the coordination all showing from this group. It's just, again, you have to account for that and then still be able to try and find a way to stop Josh Allen in a multitude of ways. It just makes you so hard to combat defensively.
I know it wasn't the prettiest of offensive game plans and execution, but I felt like at times, if anyone was taking over, it wasn't Josh. It was the offensive line at many of the times setting the tone in this game. So speaking of setting the tone, this is late in the game, 1:11 left in the game. Bills are up 24-21, and we're talking about it, trying to run the clock out. It's the same play, 20 personnel, outside zone pitch, and you're seeing him stay outside this time to get the first down. Unfortunately, he does go out of bounds, I think, and the clock stops. But so you're seeing Anderson and Gilliam once again, and just watch again the teamwork between all of these guys working together. Look at the combination block, Gilliam, Anderson climbing from the first level to the second level, sailing off that edge. You said it, man. This unit, when we're talking the run game, is very well schooled and coached very well, whether you're talking the offensive lineman, whether you're talking depth offensive lineman, tight ends, fullbacks, everyone's involved, and you see them making plays to close out this game against the Patriots.
Yeah, this was beautiful. This is, that drive that kind of put the final nail in the coffin, and you're getting a block from Amari Cooper on the outside of against the corner to help Ty Johnson a little bit. But you mentioned the one, again, you can give credit to a lot of people and highlight individuals. But the blocking at the point of attack from Gilliam and Alec Anderson is the big one for me. Just a great job from Gilliam feeding a Keon White into Alec Anderson, gets him, could get a little lower and kind of get into the hip a little bit, but he's still got leverage, helps push him or keep him neutral, allows Alec Anderson to turn and torque and get that position and shield, give his butt to Ty Johnson, which is what you want to see if you're the running back. Gilliam then climbs to the second level, gets another mismatch. He's up against Mapu this time. He's got him on size and physicality, puts him into the ground, and then you get that block from Cooper on the outside, and Ty Johnson gets upfield. Just another good example of this offensive line working in tandem and unison with one another in conjunction with the extra offensive lineman and Reggie Gilliam. And when you start to show these, then you can start to get into the boots a little bit if the defense has to account for it. And what's also nice even with Gilliam's athleticism, you can put a defense into a bind from a personnel standpoint, because how do you choose to match this? Are you trying to match it with heavy and really kind of combat the run because of Anderson and Gilliam? And if you do that and Brady sees it, now do you start to press the play action button a little bit and try and take some shots? It's a lot, again, to account for if you are the defense.
Yeah, I wanted to show some of the run plays from personnel standpoint, concept-wise, the formational looks, because now we get into some of the layering, the sequencing, and some of the, although I'll call it simple, plays, they were nice chunk plays, but it was because of the sequence and layering. So go back to the second quarter, 10:58 on the clock. Bills are down 14-7. 1st and 10 play here. The Bills are in 21 personnel, traditional 21. So 2 running backs, 1 tight end. You're going to see Gilliam in motion right here with Josh once again in pistol, Cooks on the dot. And that gets the Patriots in base defense and a single high look prior to the snap. And so we talked about this play last week where Josh made that throw to Cook, where he had Cooper on that dig route over the middle. He ended up not throwing it. He made a wonderful play to James Cook. It was our easy loan auto sales play last week. This is the same play. It's just a different look. But I like what they did on this by having Gilliam and Cook be kind of that escort check down. So Josh is going to go through the fake. They have the false pull with McGovern. They're trying to hit the inbreaker. Josh quickly realizes the middle of the field is congested and there's no way he's going to get to them. So look at the check down to Cook. The Bills now have leverage on this edge defender that's dropping out in coverage. All right. So now Cook is out leveraging that guy. They have a hat on a hat, obviously, with Gilliam as a lead blocker. This play design is beautiful, Anthony. All Josh has to do is essentially check it down to him. You get a hat on a hat. Now you get Cook's speed and acceleration to easily pick up that first down.
Yeah, we've seen the Bills incorporate this escort check down, this escort swing. It's come pretty common now in the NFL, college as well. And this works really good against a team like the Patriots. Number 33, Anthony Jennings. We talked about him in the offseason. Really good run defender, guy you want setting the edge, not a guy you want out in space. Not a guy that you want out there covering.
You'll
and
see
so,
here.
Yeah.
You see why here. Exactly.
Yeah, you see it here. I feel bad for him here, but, so that's a good job with Gilliam on Gonzalez, hat on a hat. And now it's essentially one-on-one between Cook and Jennings in space. And like you have highlighted their speed, just look at it's almost, and I feel bad saying it, but it really is just effortless. Like you can even see Cook look at him a little bit and be like, oh, okay, you're not catching me. And he just gets upfield. Jennings shouldn't be in space like that. Even Tavai, like 48, he's kind of got the angle on him a little bit. Hawkins, 21, is the one that really stops this from being a big gain. This sideline angle, watch Amari Cooper cook the corner to the bottom. Cooper just he got hit by a sniper, just drops and goes down. Like, nice release there from Amari Cooper. But yeah, like you said, this is also on 1st and 10, like you mentioned. So cool. If that shot over the middle, that dagger concept doesn't yield anything, cool. Guess what? Check it down. Worst case, you're going to get like 4 to 5 yards. But in this instance, you've got the leverage advantage. You've got the speed advantage. It's a new set of downs because of you getting the ball to James Cook and also getting it to him early. This is a, low risk, high upside type of play. So great call for it on 1st and 10, taking advantage of the personnel on both sides of the ball and the situation.
Yeah, just really good play design there and giving Josh options. Try to take that chunk play. It's not there. You have an outlet, but now it's just an outlet. You have a leverage and you have speed on top of a hat on a hat. It was really pretty to see that simple play design, but very effective. Another one of these plays from a 21 personnel grouping. Again, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. Watch the play action play. This is the basically like a layered play. It's where you got Coleman deep on a deep comeback. You have Shakir in the middle of the field on deep comeback. You have Cook as that check down. This is a play we've broken down several times, so we won't hang on it too long. But you're getting that play action fake, and again, you're trying to get the ball, to the receivers. And Josh does one hell of a job at moving the flats defender here. So you're gonna see right here, it's Duggar. I think this is Duggar. Right here, you could see him kind of just widen as Josh kind of opens his left hip and shoulder towards Cook, like he's going to throw it to Cook, and watch what that little movement does to open up that passing lane right inside the numbers to Coleman. Dude, that is filthy. It's, again, a simple play. This is a very simple play. They've run a ton of different ways, but Josh, with that little movement, is able to move that flats defender who's going to widen to Cook. And now he has a shot, a chunk play down the field to Coleman.
What's nice too about this is even if he did want to check it down to Cook, there's so much space on like 2nd and 5. Cook probably still gets this first down just because of the leverage out there on Duggar. But like you said, the highlight there, look at that movement. Like that's just such a smart play from Allen, and another example in a laundry list of examples from us this year of him playing football from the neck up, playing quarterback from the neck up. This isn't being the mutant alien unicorn that he is, this is playing quarterback mentally. And the end zone angle is great for here. Like you highlighted Duggar. Look at Duggar, where he is in his drop. His eyes are on Allen, and Allen opens up briefly. The slightest open up to Cook, and look at Duggar just vacate. And now, because he vacated, look where that ball goes. Right to where Kyle Duggar was. Duggar was literally sitting in that window, and Allen's like, I'd like you to move from that window. So
And you can
I'm
see
going
this
to
throw,
move.
right? And like it's kind of open. His body opens up right there.
Yep.
And it's an open body throw. It's an off-platform throw. He's not really able to step into this, right? He's kind of throwing it. You can see how he follows through. It's not normal follow through or sequencing.
No, that's a great point. Like we've highlighted Allen with his mechanics so much this year of like, eyes being in sync with the feed and being in the right direction and everything pointed together and so on and so forth. But this time he makes that kind of off-platform throw. This one is that arm strength, being able to get there, and the quickness and timing of it all works. Rather than open up that way and then reset and try and get your body in position, he can get it there with the arm. He still has the follow through, has the rotation. This is a great play from Josh Allen. Also want to highlight O'Cyrus Torrence right there. Little snatch trap potentially there, or ice pick as Deion Dawkins calls it. He chops down that left arm of 92, gets him off balance a little bit, puts him into the dirt. So a nice job from O'Cyrus Torrence again, but great job from Allen, just with the subtlest of movements to manipulate a defender.
Yeah, and speaking of manipulating defenders and defenses, we're going to dive into the touchdown by Cook here. And it's one we've seen several times. It's one we've broken down many times. Low red zone type of play, 11 personnel. This is, some people call it mesh traffic. Some people call it slither. I know Brady called it slither when he was at LSU. But it's such a simple play, man. You're in a low red zone and you're getting man coverage. You're moving guys around. You're identifying or uncovering what they're going to be in. And to no surprise, it is man coverage. And that allows Cook to get out the back door, get some speed and horizontal leverage on the defense for the touchdown. But the devil is in the details, right? And like prior to the snap, I want to highlight the small movement by Cook. As he goes out wide, look at that defender go with him. He just totally gave, hey, we're in man coverage. And this is the man that's going to be covering Cook. So now Josh does a little okey doke with Shakir again. And sometimes the ball does go to Shakir. His defender does a good job of staying with him. And so Josh is able to get it to Cook because of the speed. And there's really no rub set for Cook on this one. Usually Hollins, sets that pick or rub. But it's not even needed here. But really good touch and throw by Josh, leading Cook out to the open field. Again, out leveraging and out flanking that defense for the touchdown.
Yeah, great call on that. Allen putting this ball in a spot that, allows Cook to run under it and stay away from Schooler. Schooler is 41, who we talked about earlier. That slight hesitation from Schooler where he stops his feet and peeks into the backfield. Yep, coming right across here.
Right here, right?
You'll see him exactly. He takes off. He's got Cook right there. Stops his feet a little bit just to peek into the backfield to see what's going on. It allows Cook to get that leverage and further advantage. And then Allen keeping it away from the extra defender over the top too, just in case, put it into a safe spot. Cook is able to run underneath it. So really good job conceptually. This is a great low red zone concept. We've seen the Bills run this time and time again since Brady took over as offensive coordinator for this team. Tried and true concept. I really do like the additions pre-snap. The little shift from James Cook, the return or the orbit return motion from Shakir is another added layer, especially like you said, that is something that they run and they go to Shakir. So adding this on is some window dressing and or something they could go to if that defender gets caught in the traffic going to Shakir. So you've got multiple options here. And again, something else that you're putting on tape that defenses have to account for, because that piece to Shakir is something, like you said, they do go to, especially in high leverage situations. So that's not just a throwaway. And then you get all the leverage and speed happening here from the mesh traffic, which is really nice. I really wanted Matt Collins to be the one who made this play here. I wanted to see some great, like he made the defender fall down or he was the reason. You saw the movement, but like you said, it didn't really influence Schooler too much. But nice on multiple levels. And that's something, again, that play, although it's nice and the devil is in the details, is a vanilla concept because it's something they do a bunch. But the little wrinkles with the motion of, Shakir and adding that on, just, again, a good job. And the Bills needed every ounce of that offensively to kind of stay in this game and continue to kind of pull things through against a feisty and spirited New England team who potentially really wanted one in Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying at the top, that the Patriots do some cool things with their safeties and some of their linebackers and versatile defensive back hybrid linebackers.
Yeah.
Like they had a guy at the third level covering Cook if he came out the front door. They had him working over the top post snap, but also having Schooler kind of undercut a slide route by Cook, and it still wasn't good enough. It still wasn't good enough. And it was in those moments, again, those high leverage moments, those gotta have it moments, that you saw some of the cool stuff from Brady. You just didn't see it in the passing game on early downs. They kept it very simple in that regard, but they did, again, uncover and put in some cool wrinkles in the run game. And I thought that was the major takeaway. I think the run game complexity was cool and new and had new wrinkles. Pass game was vanilla, but overall, when they needed to play, it felt like it was the offensive line making the play, whether it's in the run game or buying time for Josh. I thought they stood out from top to bottom. And if I was going to give anyone the award or, star for a game, I think that offensive line unit really has to, including Alec Anderson in a lot of those personnel groupings, really stood out and carried the torch when the Bills needed to play.
Yeah, I second that notion. Just again, getting this level of execution and production attached to it from 6 offensive linemen, like
Yeah.
legitimately. And again, Alec Anderson plays a good chunk of snaps for being a 6 offensive lineman, so it's not too surprising. But just seeing how he's been incorporated and seeing how he executes, and then taking Reggie Gilliam, somebody who hasn't played a ton this year, but is starting to get incorporated these last several weeks, and seeing how you would watch Reggie Gilliam in this game. He was a big standout for me. You would think like, oh, okay, like if this was one of your first times watching the Bills, you would think like, oh, they probably use Reggie Gilliam a ton, like with how many snaps he got and how well he's playing. It's like, no, not really. He's pretty much just been special teams the majority of the year. And here he comes down the stretch a little bit, kind of like what we saw when 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, leading into that annihilation of the Patriots in the wild card round. Yeah, just starting to incorporate him a little more into the offense. Again, all these wrinkles, all these additives into the offense, it's really starting to, I think, pay off a little bit to increase that menu, increase the complexity of things that the defense just has to account for, especially if you're a coordinator like, yeah, if you're Spags or if you're Zach Orr for Baltimore, whoever it is, you are going to see these things on tape. And it's not just, where they ran it once or they ran it twice, but starting to incorporate it. And for this to be a game where you can talk about counter and these variations of it being a core concept for this game, it just starts to build. Okay, now do they have 4 concepts that they're leaning into? And then the personnel that they're leaning into them with, just everything you have to account for. It kind of creates a positive chain reaction for you offensively, negative one for the defense, again, because like you said, these are things that you legitimately have to account for, not one-off throwaway pieces that don't matter. And added on top of it, how Brady is layering them and sequencing everything together. That's what makes it even more impactful to kind of put that stress on the defense.
Yeah, it's I mean, the last 4 games, Gilliam, I mean, he's gotten, let's see, the San Fran game starting week 13, 14 snaps, only 3 against LA, 12 against Detroit, 18, in this game against the Patriots. So they're gonna start to lean into Gilliam a little more, and that obviously that's exciting for a lot of old school running back types like myself, and I know you enjoy that. I love the wrinkles that they showed in this game. It's exciting to see the wrinkles, and again, it's gonna be a handful, especially if you're playing in that cold weather. I don't want to get blocked by Gilliam. I don't want him coming downhill on a gap run at me, especially if you're talking a lot of these teams that play with the extra defensive back, playing some of those dime looks, and they're trying to defend the spread scheme. So I think that's going to be fun once we start to see that come playoff time. But again, I think they did save some things for the playoffs, and I'm excited to see where that goes once it hits. So with that said, Ant, let's flip the script. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. I know a lot of fans were upset with some of the things that unfolded in this game. Much like I said at the top, I think it wasn't as bad as it felt. I think that first quarter and a half, first half, if you want to, be generous, the first half was kind of rough. But I do think the Bills did make adjustments and they did tighten down. And I think that was the Patriots game plan. I think that's a game plan for most teams coming against Josh Allen. They're not going to stop him. They're going to try to contain him, but they need to keep the ball out of his hands. And I think the Patriots did a really good job of coming out swinging with a really nice play script, keeping the ball out of Josh's hands. 38 plays for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns in that first half. I mean, that's a lot of plays, and that's a lot of plays with Josh not on the field. The Bills only got 23 plays in the first half, man.
Yeah, and you felt it like with what the score was, and then combined with they really honestly like they just couldn't follow through with it because of the team that they have. But they kind of executed that initial script of how to beat the Bills. Like you score offensively, you stop the Bills, get some 3 and outs, keep the ball away from them. And if you can score touchdowns while having 9, 10, 11 play drives that take up 5, 6, 7 minutes type of deal, you make it a low possession game. You make it that you have to hit on a high success rate offensively. And you have a great tweet there, how the Bills tightened up and made the adjustments. And it goes along with just, I was going to quote like the overall numbers for how this game went and how bad it felt. At the end of the day, the Bills were 13th in EPA defensively for the week. And then from a success rate standpoint, we're 19th. But a lot of that was due to the swings from the first half and the second half and how much they tightened up, especially in that third quarter, as evidenced here by the EPA per play.
Yeah, I mean, first quarter EPA per play for the Pats was 0.5. Obviously, they got out to a hot start. Second quarter was negative 0.18 EPA per play. Third quarter, negative 0.69. And then fourth quarter, negative 0.09. So the second half, of course, the adjustments were made, but they got turnovers, right? And that's kind of been the MO. Now, is that something that the Bills can consistently hang their head on? Not necessarily, because those usually come in chunks. And we saw the Bills defense struggle, not just in this game, but struggle throughout the year when they aren't getting those turnovers. But in this game, they did. So in the second half, they did. And I did a video on the 3 turnovers in the second half today. So after the show, go check it out and then cover one YouTube channel. But I think that's where they are making things happen. And, whether it's Greg Rousseau standing out, Cam Lewis standing out, they did what was needed in the second half from an adjustment standpoint, but also from a turnover standpoint to help their offense get the ball more. Because again, like you said, the Patriots did a great job in that play script, in that game script, and keeping Josh off the field in the first half. But things kind of changed a little bit in the second half, and the Bills were able to come out and start to assert themselves from an offensive standpoint too, not just from the defensive side.
Those the first quarter and third quarter numbers there, like just for people who don't know, like those numbers are significant. To have like a 0.5 EPA per play, that's essentially a half a point of expected points added per play. That's crazy high for an offense. And then in the third quarter to be at negative 0.69, so almost like a full point lost per play if you're the offense. It's just crazy. And this is a good one too that you have pulled up, the Pats third down by halves. You see the success for the Patriots offense in that first half. You see the difference and the change in the second half. I also think that third down play and overall just how the turnovers factor into the Bills defense. You can't plan for turnovers, but I do think it falls into kind of the philosophical and, ideological like play style of this Bills defense, where we talk about you're going to get the Bills defense. You're going to gash them. They're going to get got, but they're also planning to get you. And it might be a turnover, or it might be a tackle for a loss, or it might be a sack. They're trying to it's almost like they're playing chicken with you a little bit. They're going to try and get upfield. They're going to try to attack. They're trying to punch the ball out. They're going to try and get some interceptions. And for as much as you can't predict turnovers, this team year after year has been pretty good at consistently causing them in a variety of ways. And even with a year where you don't have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer on the back end making plays on the ball in the air, they've kind of swung the pendulum a little bit this year with forced fumbles in the pocket or outside and in space, but with guys like Christian Benford and even DeMar Hamlin, these guys where you can tell they're coached to punch the ball out with that peanut punch technique. It falls into that, again, that idea of, hey, you might get them for a 12 or 13-yard run or a chunk play, but then they're going to hit you for a 3-yard loss or 4-yard loss. And when they get you into that 2nd and 14 and 2nd and 13, they're planning to get you off the field, get that ball back to Josh Allen, which is a whole nother conversation of how that defense plays complementary with Allen and how that factors into the game script for the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, 8 havoc plays in this game for the Bills. 4 of those were tackle for losses. Then, of course, the 2 fumbles forced that you were alluding to. And the interception was huge because
Yeah.
of the coverage they were in, first of all. But also they were in the red zone. The Patriots were in the red zone. That's a huge swing right there. And so, yeah, when it comes back to, first half or second half, first half, 8 plays, 77 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 negative play for the Patriots on third down only. Second half, 4 plays, 22 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 negative plays. So, like I said, when you watch the film, it was rough at the start. But then when you got into the second half, you saw the Bills kind of stand out and that cream of the crop, rose to the top, right? And so, and I think when you're talking Greg Rousseau, dude had a hell of a game. I thought Von Miller flashed a bunch. And we're gonna break down some of the third down plays because yes, third down percentages for the Bills defense have been rough this year. In this game, they were 7 for 12 for that's 58.3%. The Patriots even converted 2 fourth downs, Anthony. And when you look at the numbers, I mean, 12 plays for 99 yards on third down, 2 touchdowns. That's an EPA per play of 1.26, which is what, Anthony? That's pretty freaking high.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then throw EPA was 1.54. So I will say the Patriots did a great job on third downs. But again, when you're talking first to second half or when the game from start to finish, when you look at it overall, I think the Bills did adjust. And we're going to show you some of the things here in the film room about, what happened early in the game, also late in the game on those third downs.
Yeah, absolutely. And, some of that too, Bills kind of couldn't get out of their own way, or the refs maybe couldn't get out of their own way at the end with that final touchdown drive for the Pats that made it 24-21, and some calls on Kyer Elam. But, to the point of it all, I mean, the Pats went up 14-7 and then were shut out from a points perspective until that last touchdown with under 2 minutes left to go. Huge interception by Cam Lewis. You get that, nice play from Greg Rousseau to potentially kind of influence that defensive touchdown a little bit in the lateral. That was an incompletion to Ramondre Stevenson. Again, it falls in line a little bit with how this defense is, where you're going to get them. They do have some vulnerabilities. They do have some areas of opportunity and weak spots, but they are going to stick with the philosophy that has brought them here. And more often than not, it works. Now, there are times where it hasn't, and it's unfortunate that it usually comes in the playoffs, but when you factor it out from an odds perspective, their formula and how they play usually works out for them.
Right. All right. So let's get into some of these third downs. Early in the game, we saw the Pats go after Bishop. He is the number 3 here in the slot versus the tight end. And the Bills are playing man coverage, but they're also adding on a rushers. Both linebackers go. And so Bishop has no help. Good learning experience for Bishop in this game, I think, overall. And you're going to see it from the end zone angle how, the tight end Hunter Henry is able to beat Bishop here. So he's off to the left-hand side here, and just watch just a subtle movement by Henry to uncover. And I don't think Bishop is all that bad. I think he does a good job of trying to attack that hip. There's a little separation, but he's also got to understand that he doesn't have any help over the middle. There's no rat player here. There's no Bernard or Dorian Williams kind of hanging out in the middle to help him leverage this route. And so Drake Maye, great job versus pressure. Von's coming down the pike there, Bernard, Dorian, and he's able to, under duress, make this throw. Pretty good placement to the tight end, Hunter Henry, for the first down.
Yeah, this throw from Maye really got me. He's got some pressure bearing down on him. It's not the cleanest pocket. He's moving away from the target, isn't really able to step into it. He's off his feet when he releases this ball, and he still puts
to rotate through. Yep.
Yeah, but he's still able, like you said, he had to rotate through. Maybe that basketball background help him a little bit, kind of like a fadeaway, and it's a little bit on that back shoulder. Bishop isn't completely, out of the play. It's not horrible position. He goes for that punch, but like you said, pairing it in conjunction with the rush that we see from Bernard and I was gonna say Milano,
Dorian,
but unfortunately he was not here. Yeah, Bernard and Dorian here. This isn't necessarily like the add-on, like they're coming, they're hunting. So Bishop knowing where he has help, or in this case where he doesn't have help, I'd like to see him just kind of account for that a little bit, but not crazy, horrible play, like you said, from Bishop. Kudos to Hunter Henry being a vet a little bit. He had a couple vet moment plays in this game where he was able to create some separation and space for himself with some pushes and some hand usage, but a really good ball by Maye. I think that's one too where you kind of got to tip your cap a little bit to, Maye and Henry. That's a good play there.
I mean, speaking of tip of the cap, I mean, this throw from Maye, like
Wild.
This was unreal. So you can see the Bills, what they did on third downs is they put guys up near the line of scrimmage and they mix it up. That time you saw the pressure. This time they're showing pressure, but it's the simulated pressure. But you see that two edge guys, Rousseau and Miller, drop out. But this throw was predetermined. It was, hey, single high coverage. We like the one-on-one matchup to the top of the screen. And it really didn't matter which receiver was out there. Where Maye put this out in front of the wide receiver was just perfect. Behind Elam and beyond Elam, and then away from that post safety. Like, it was just a beautiful throw. Like, this is a tip of the cap throw here from Maye. It was just unreal.
This was such a friggin' dime from Drake Maye. He had a couple in this game. Also, shout out to Antonio Gibson for picking up Dorian Williams coming through. He had a couple great blitz pickups in this game. Number 4 for the Patriots there. Erik has highlighted the cross dog action that we get from Dorian and Bernard, which has worked well for them. You see Bernard engage the center. Dorian then comes through to kind of pick that center. You see that right arm pushing him a little bit, and he's trying to bring Bernard clean, which almost happens. The Patriots adjust a little bit, but Bernard does his job in heating up Maye, and Maye just delivers, like you said, just a dime, an absolute beautiful ball from Drake Maye here. I know I get it to a degree. A lot of people are like, oh, Kyrie's got to turn his head. He's got to make a play on the ball there. This is a great throw. Booty doesn't, or Booty, I just feel weird saying it, doesn't telegraph the catch. You get some late hands action there. This is also a dude, in terms of, Booty, the receiver there, super high ranked high school prospect, highly regarded guy coming into his final year at LSU. Things just didn't work out. He's got a lot of talent and a lot of potential. Look at the soft hands. He plucks that from the air with late hands. It's a dime from Maye. Great position from Elam. He tries to read the hands and go for the punch, but the late hands plus the ball placement just make it not be possible for him.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Elam on that one because that is good coverage. You'd like him to get his head around, sure, or get that punch, but that's a great play from Maye and a great catch by the wide receiver, just everything coming in conjunction, and great blitz pickup from Gibson because the scheme almost got him there, but Gibson made a play. The line reacted. That's, again, like you said, tip your cap to multiple guys on the offense there.
Here's another one that is technically against Bishop. It's a 5-man pressure. So the Bills are, again, up near the line of scrimmage, and I thought they did a good job of mugging gaps so that they could get the edge rushers one-on-ones. But watch post-snap here. The Bills are showing too high prior to snap. Picture changes. They rotate into a 5-man pressure, but they're still playing zone on the back end. So it's more of a 3 deep, 3 under type play. And that means Bishop is kind of coming down here. So as they rotate, you're going to see everyone rotate. Think about it this way. This is cover 3. And usually it's more of like a match. So you're seeing Bernard drop out here to the trip side. You obviously have Taryn there as well. And so what you want Bishop to understand is like, hey, you're a hook to curl player, but you're also kind of a flats player. You got to understand you're into the short side of the field. If the ball's on the right hash, more times than not, this receiver is probably going to attack the middle. And so he's kind of late to recognize that. And then you see the quick pass from Maye to the tight end. And so the coverage gets kind of out leveraged, but this could have been deterred if Bishop was a little better with his eye discipline and his landmark to kind of deter this throw. But again, there's the opening. It's very easy. It's very quick on that rotation by Bishop coming down, and they're able to convert the first down.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. He just gets a little too outside and kind of almost like out leverages himself and makes that. And also too, with his athleticism and his ability to trigger on that short side, if Henry's running like a stick or if he breaks outside, you're coming downhill. You have the ability to play that better rather than completely opening yourself up on the inside here and giving up that leverage and space. You've got Kyer highlighted there on the outside, like he's ready to make a play on the ball. The down and distance as well. So getting like that initial stem as he spins down, it just puts him in a bad position. And on top of it, like you said, you have a 3x2. You know what the coverage call is. So Bernard is going to release and try and pick up Douglas, number 3, and match him as that number 3 receiver inside. So essentially, you're not going to have help to your inside.
Exactly.
Versus you have help on the outside with Elam. You also have help
and the boundary.
On the sideline. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have that. You have almost 2 defenders helping you between Elam and the sideline. You don't need to get that far outside. If anything, I could have understood you being a little head up, but he gets too far outside, gives up the inside, and makes this an easy pitch and catch on a third down.
Yeah, it's again, it's space, and that's what
Yeah.
quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks, are trying to assess, and why they struggle early in their careers is, when you have that rotation, and trying to find that open space. And this one was so easy because, again, he did play a little heavy outside, and again, if he played this a little more inside, maybe Maye's not making that throw on that in-breaking
You can
route.
even see his movement in this
Yeah.
end zone angle, like on the snap. It's not even like he's spinning down. He's spinning like at a 45-degree angle out. Like he goes out of our picture because he goes so far out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, again, I think that's a learning experience thing. I think he
Yeah.
can improve in that regard. So now we're kind of going to the second half here. This is another 5-man pressure. As you can see, the Bills are once again up near the line of scrimmage. They're showing too high shell here. They kind of hide that a little bit more too, because I love this rotation. You can see it as the
Yeah.
ball's about to be snapped.
Love
Watch
it.
Taryn, watch Cam Lewis to the top of the screen, and how Taryn gets to the deep half. Cam becomes the other deep half
Yes.
safety, with Bishop coming from depth. Really cool disguise here. And the Bills do a good job of stopping the wide receiver short. So this is one of those like 3-over-2 type calls when we're talking 3 defenders covering 2 receivers. But Cam Lewis with a heck of a job of coming from the rotation. Again, top of the screen, he's rotating to the deep half, but then he comes downhill when he sees the route developing by that receiver to the bottom, and he's able to help stop that wide receiver on the deep comeback short of the sticks on third down, so that the Patriots could punt the ball.
Cam Lewis goes from essentially capping like the slot to the top. So he goes from capping the number 2 receiver to the field side to a split field safety. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he's kind of capping, right? Like you said.
Exactly.
And that's
Yeah.
what that usually means. When he's capping, that means, hey, Terrence's probably coming. That's how they're disguising that.
Yeah, so the great point there, like to explain that. So if you're Drake Maye and you're the offense, you're thinking like, okay, Cam Lewis's alignment, he's probably got this slot receiver man to man. That means Taron Johnson is probably coming on the blitz, so it furthers that disguise. And to watch the spin,
Yeah.
all those are great too. Let's go through the whole thing. Like you look at how everyone is highlighted, right? It looks like man coverage to the top, one-on-one on the outside. It looks like it could be man between Cam and that slot. Looks like it could be man between Cole Bishop and Hunter Henry, and then man to the bottom of the screen with Kyer versus Bourne. And then just the shift on the snap, Rousseau is dropping out, Bernard is dropping out, Bishop is coming. Good job by Bishop here. He gets past Ramondre Stevenson. It helps heat up Drake Maye a little bit on this throw. Taron Johnson drops to the split field safety, like you said. And then, Cam Lewis just getting from capping the number 2 to the field to the far side for him, the far side. Yeah, like that is super sick. Like to get all the way and not put himself completely out of position. Look where his eyes are. Like you said, like you talk about, like he drops and then he takes the angle and comes downhill. He's watching Bourne the entire way here. And he knows the down and distance. He knows the pressure package. He's playing off of Elam and just bang, he beelines it. Once he sees Bourne, he's waiting for Bourne to settle. He's waiting for Bourne to throttle down. And as soon as he does, he starts coming downhill. It's just a really good job of his angle on the snap to get to his area of responsibility, but then adjusting his stem and his track once he sees the route develop and make a play on the ball. And that timing was everything on this one. Bourne is super close to getting the first down. He doesn't by like a half a yard or half a foot, however you want to look at it. Just a really good play from Cam Lewis with a couple, nice pieces from Bishop in there as well. And the overall coverage and spin. I don't think the Bills get enough credit for some of the spins that they've gotten to this year, whether it's the non-traditional Tampa 2 stuff or some things with their sims and creepers like this. They don't get enough credit, I feel, and rightfully so. Everything that Spags does, I think, gets put on a pedestal and highlighted, but the Bills do some really cool stuff from a coverage rotation that's pretty diabolical that they don't get enough love and shine for.
And just a little footnote, Ant, like when you're seeing Cam Lewis spin here and his eyes are to number 1, it's important that his eyes are number 1 because the number 2 is not able to get out into a route and to affect this leverage. This, again, 3/2 because you have Bernard popping out. So you have Bernard, you have Kyer and Cam Lewis, 3 over those 2. But the number 2 doesn't get out because of this pressure they're sending, but also because of Von Miller. Like that's a footnote. It's a little footnote to keep an eye on because he is affecting it in many ways. He had some really good, pressures in this game, But this rush by Miller on top of the scheme itself of Bishop and Dorian rushing from the bottom of the screen there, it kept the number 2 in, and that number 2 would affect, again, the pattern matching when it comes to this route. And maybe if number 2 is going vertical, he's occupied, and now you're getting the one-on-one here on this deep comeback, and now maybe Cam Lewis isn't there to make that stop. So I think there's a little domino effect play going on there because of the design, but also because of Von Miller being the rusher there. Really, really fun stuff. Again, it may have not felt that way, during the game, but there's some cool stuff going on with Babbage and McDermott. And here's another simulated pressure. And I just love the communication from Bernard. Like, us, like when we see Bernard do some stuff pre-snap, post-snap, and put guys in positions to make plays, like we're going to highlight it here. So again, another simulated pressure, and you see them once again kind of pop out, right? They pop out. They only send 4, but which 4 you don't quite know. And Drake is trying to hit to the bottom of the screen. There's no one open. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to check it down. And here come the Bills rallying to the ball. Cole Bishop from depth. Kyer Elam, I believe, is the guy at the top of the screen. And they're able to stop the check down to Gibson on 3rd down there. So once again, as the game went on, man, they showed some cool stuff, whether they're coming or just dropping out into coverage. And I thought that they made enough adjustments on top of the turnovers, which we'll talk about briefly here in a second, to really give the Bills the ball back for Josh Allen, the offense.
Yeah, great point. And, you talked about it to kind of end the previous play. That pressure look kind of manipulating the protection in New England, keeping in more guys than they needed because of that pressure look. You get a similar effect here. So this one, simulated pressure like you talk about, but you're showing 6 guys at the line right in and around the box right there. Look who this ball goes to. This ball goes to Antonio Gibson, number 4, but he doesn't release right away because he's check releasing. He comes out, his eyes are on Bernard. He comes through. He has to make sure, that his man isn't coming. And once that happens, he releases out into the route. But that helps, that little delay is what kind of helps Bishop and Elam be able to play top down and make this stop short of the sticks. You even get a similar impact to the tight end, Austin Hooper there on the outside. He's pointing out Greg Rousseau before the snap, and then he tries to chip him a little bit before he releases. So you've got 2 guys to that side of the field who are essentially, pass protectors first, releasing into the route distribution second. That type of delay is caused by the protection manipulation, by the pressure look, by that simulated, and it buys just a half a click, a half a beat for Bishop to come down, as you have highlighted there, Kyer Elam to come from the outside. They play that outside in, a little bit of vice action from those 2, and they make this stop short of the sticks. If Gibson releases right off the bat, or Hooper releases right off the bat, maybe they get a little more depth to their route. Maybe they threaten that first down marker a little bit. Maybe it threatens the coverage a little more. So a good job of coverage and pass rush, the marriage there, working for a stop on 3rd down.
Right. And so later in the game, Bill's showing 2-man here on 3rd down. You see the posture of the DBs across the board. Eyes are on their men too high, but post snap, they drop into more of a cover 1 type lurk. And so now you have a little help over the middle as Dorian is now on the tight end instead of Bishop. So a nice little change, but really getting to the same coverage they want to be in. But now you have someone underneath. Bernard is getting the running back out of the backfield, and the pressure heats up. Von Miller heats up Drake Maye, and the ball he had to throw a little early, and the tight end's not quite out and able to track the ball, and that causes the ball to go incomplete. Again, I think Von, you're starting to see him round into form a little bit. His spin move back inside, it's been flashing the last couple of weeks, and it's only a matter of time till he starts to get home here. And he impacts this play. He impacts this play on a 4-man rush, and again, 3rd down, causing the incompletion.
Yeah, it feels like his plays, I feel like, largely gone unnoticed, not just like nationally, because I feel like that is bound to happen, but like even I think amongst the fan base, and you're seeing it show up as a pass rusher. We've highlighted it a bunch on the show. We've each highlighted it on Twitter. He's shown up against the run as well, even going back as far as the Arizona game to like lead off the season. So he's had, again, he's not the Von Miller he was before he got hurt, but he's offered some edge, high end edge 3, like middle tier edge 2 production at times for this defense. Really nice spin there, clean, sudden on the inside, doesn't get that full ice pick stab into the back, but he doesn't really need to because of how clean that spin is. And this is another example, the coverage working with the pass rush. Great, freeze frame from you there.
Yeah.
As Maye is starting to throw, this route isn't even out. Like
Right.
Henry has not released. He's still engaged and hand fighting a little bit with Jamarcus Ingram, but Maye has to throw this ball because Vaughn has gotten in clean, heated him up. So he's trying to throw to a spot that he hopes his man will be at. That's not where his man goes. The throw sails a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a good job. Again, coverage, marrying with the pass rush. Different example this time. Still getting some disguise versus the previous play, but a man coverage aspect after. Really nice play. And if the Bills can continue to get that pressure from just a regular rush without having to send the house, it's a huge advantage for how they want to play from a coverage structure standpoint.
Yeah, I just want to go over a couple of the turnovers real quick since we have an extra couple minutes. I want to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, this is the first turnover here. Rousseau, elite run defender. Am I wrong or am I right?
You are most definitely right.
Great job from this angle. You can see it, setting the edge, strong inside hand, jacking up that right tackle, keeping that outside arm free. You see his eyes peeking in. And once that running back hits the line of scrimmage, you see him rake the ball out. Really good play from him on this.
Yeah, we see this so much from him, and it's not, a homer take or I think hyperbole to say that he is one of the best run defending defensive linemen in the entirety of the NFL, not just for edge defenders or defensive ends, however you want to label it, like defensive linemen, period. And this is such a great highlight here. The way he sets the edge, he's holding his gap. He's got his head on the outside shoulder, but he's watching the running back's track. And this is where his length shows up so much, even more than as a pass rusher, in his ability versus the run, because he's able to get that hand placement, get that pop, and like you said, jack up the offensive tackle. And then you see the length come into play with the extension. He's able to stay clean and just seamlessly almost cover two gaps at once. Yeah, with this length and this strength and the leverage play, he's covering that outside gap just seamlessly, pops back inside, almost kind of swims that arm a little bit, and uses the length and those big, strong hands to rake that ball out. He's such a strong player against the run. And, I know the sack numbers aren't necessarily there, but in a deep, and this is, again, people are probably going to yell at me for this, but in a defense where they want to play two high structures and play that as much as they can and work that in disguise and fit the run from depth, you need defensive linemen who are good at playing the run, and Greg Rousseau is a force multiplier in that way. And I know it doesn't show up necessarily in the box score and the raw stats, but he allows for them to do a lot from a coverage standpoint because of how he plays that run.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, he has more value to the style and scheme that the Bills play than maybe someone else, right? Like the Bills play a lot of two high structures, and you're going to be in light boxes. You're going to have a nickel in the box a bunch. His value is where, is more to the Bills. There's no doubt about it. So speaking of value, I mean, Cam Lewis, we gave it to him a little bit early and near, and he still has moments of being up and down, but his versatility and value is incredibly important. This play, Anthony, I want you to talk about it. From the post safety alignment, the Bills are in cover one here. What a play by him on this for the interception. Again, in the red zone, Pats are in the red zone here. He's able to make a play to give the ball back to the Bills.
Yeah, this was huge. Pats were driving again. You're kind of still not feeling good if you're a fan, maybe not feeling good if you are the actual Bills. You have it highlighted there, cover one, which means you are going to get man coverage, single high post safety. Cam Lewis is that single high post safety. We get a scissors concept to the bottom of the screen. The push is beautiful here. And I knew that you would be a fan of this. We usually see Terrell Bernard somehow involved in that push call, going back to the Baylor tape. But this time we get it from Dorian Williams and Cole Bishop. They both communicated at the same time. You can see that left, braced up arm from Dorian pointing. You can see the inside right arm from Cole Bishop. They execute that push call. Bishop goes to the flat. Dorian is now going downfield with Austin Hooper. Scissors concept between Bourne and Hooper. They kind of collide with one another. Their landmarks and their depth aren't great. But that scissor, all that means, those two are essentially crossing, Bourne on the post, Hooper on the corner, like Erik has highlighted. But it gets erased. Even with Hooper falling down and the landmark, it gets erased. And this angle shows why it gets erased. There is Cam Lewis being highlighted. Like we said, he's that single high post safety, reading the eyes of Drake Maye the entire time. And there is no, again, Drake May's a rookie, so, learn, kind of see from there. There is no post-safety manipulation. There is no let me hold the safety for a half a click or half a beat. He is eyeing this the whole way. Cam Lewis allows Drake Maye to lead him to the football. And that break is beautiful. Whether Hooper falls down or not, Cam Lewis has broke on this ball from the jump. This is a great play. This is good range. This is smart, heady football from a single high post safety alignment. Just, man, a really good athletic but heady play from Cam Lewis. And then finishing on the back end, right? You don't drop it. You secure that ball. This is a difference-making play from Cam Lewis. Again, nice push call and some technical pieces in the coverage, but that's a great individual effort from Cam Lewis.
So that's, 2 turnovers in the third quarter. Again, shortening drives, taking points off the board, essentially from the Patriots there. Here's a fourth quarter fumble recovery. And when I watched this play and the way it was set up, I was like, Bernard, prior to the snap, he was doing some work, which is typically the case. And you go back and watch him in this game, his communication skills were phenomenal. And so Bernard put them into this coverage and put them onto this play. So, and I think this play, it reminded me of the game last year, fourth quarter, 158 left in the game. Bills are up by 3, 25-22. And they kind of run that swing screen or swing route out of that 4 eligible look to Stevenson. And he breaks tackles here as the Bills kind of drop into cover 3 versus it. And he's able to get upfield and kind of swing the position and get a chunk play to put the Patriots in position. I think they end up scoring a touchdown in this drive too, right?
They do. They score, and it's 25-22 as that play starts. They score a touchdown on this drive, and they beat the Bills 29-25.
And this was a play that kind of jump-started that drive. Yeah. And I flashed back to this. I'm like, I swear, Bernard had something. He understood what was coming, because watch again on Sunday. Watch him prior to the snap. As soon as he sees that similar look, you see him change the coverage, and it looks like he's calling a trap coverage. So instead of a single high coverage, it's more of a 2 high coverage, as the Patriots are in pistol, and they're kind of similar thing. You're seeing essentially 3 eligibles right here. Now it's a little different look because the running back is on the dot,
but it becomes 4 after the snap.
He becomes 4 after the snap, and I just felt like Bernard was onto something. I feel like he got them into this coverage, and then you see Rousseau read the drop, flow of the play, the set by that tackle, and how he just, kind of shrugs him off, and he knows some kind of swing or flare is coming. So he goes and attacks the running back, and Stevenson is aware. He's aware that Rousseau is right there. Drops the ball. Obviously the ball, trickles into the end zone, and Taryn recovers. But from the start, man, I got to imagine, and I think that Bernard recognized this play, got them into an alert call or something, because he was just too vocal prior to the snap. Look at him. He's immediately changing the look, Anthony. He's just so good, bro. He's so good.
I feel like, he's like, you remember last year when they started that drive we lost? Like, here comes that swing. And
dude. Yeah. Like, prior to the games, you see all the beat reporters with their cameras in the under the stadium when the guys are walking and Josh is giving the thumbs up. They're videotaping Mac Hollins with no shoes and some weird bear
Bernard
costume
with his iPad,
on.
man.
What does Bernard have? His iPad and his notebook. I'm telling you, he knew something here.
He's never not studying, and he's so cerebral. I like that a lot. Yeah, just how demonstrative he was with that communication. And, it pays off. And also, great job from Greg Rousseau there with the recognition. When you get that immediate cut as an edge from that tackle like Rousseau gets here, something's coming. It's either going to be some kind of screen or some kind of quick aspect where they're trying to take you out of the window or take you out of the play. And honestly, this play is blocked up if Rousseau isn't there. Like, they have a hat on a hat outside potentially if the blocks can hold. You can see it right there. Like, Taryn is about to get blocked. Gibson is moving on to Benford. You've got Henry on Bernard. Now, maybe somebody shakes a block and somebody makes a play, but Rousseau's influence there is significant in terms of just bearing down on Ramondre. Maybe Ramondre, hears those footsteps or sees them potentially a little bit when you've got this giant, kind of brontosaurus like bearing down on you out of nowhere, and that ball squirts through your hands. And I feel bad for Ramondre. You can see when Taryn recovers it, like, he's just like, oh, like, man, that's on me. And that's a great job from Bernard, kind of keying everybody up and getting them ready. And even, I think this is the key point too, right? Like, even if this isn't a turnover, that's going to be a tackle for a loss.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big time negative play, toxic differential type of play from Rousseau because of his play recognition, because of the ability to, for a guy who isn't, the bendiest or the best change of direction, for him to get low and kind of meet that, that chop and meet that cut block and take it out of the play and then fluidly go forward and be able to, as you had highlighted there, to be able to take on that block, but keep your eyes on the QB and read what's happening.
Yeah.
That's a nice heady play from Greg Rousseau. And yeah, and again, that mattered a ton. We saw what the final score was. Again, things change based on how the points go, and it's not a like for like, but I mean, an added touchdown on the board in a game where you won by 3, that play mattered a lot, especially
It
that
did.
swing there, the interception from Cam, and then later getting a defensive touchdown. You took points away and then added points defensively. Man, good job from the defense.
And that's why we said, it didn't seem as bad because they, were making adjustments on third down from first to second half, and then they were getting the turnovers. So they did turn it around. I mean, you can see the EPA per play, like we said at the top of this segment, it did change drastically in the second half. So, while initially that first half, left a bad taste in our mouths, like the second half, man, that was fun to watch. You saw some of the cool stuff they were doing on top of getting those turnovers. So listen, is the defense worrisome at times? Absolutely. It's one of the weaknesses right now, but the offense is just that high flying, So yeah, there's gonna be something. Every team this time of year has weaknesses, right? And right now the Bills defense is kind of finding their way through some things and learning, the hard way, building some of those scars with Babbage as that DC. But overall, I thought they made the adjustments needed on top of those turnovers, and we're able to come out with the dub. That's all that matters in the end.
Yeah, I don't win ugly, win pretty and clean. I do not care. A win is a win, is a win is a win. And yeah, I do have concerns about the defense, and we've highlighted a bunch of them, like the run defense and the spine and the second wave in terms of how they perform and the displacement that's caused. It's scary, it's worrisome, and game script can either hinder that or amplify it for the Bills and their opponents, depending on what happens. But the turnover aspect, again, you cannot predict turnovers. You can't go in and say, well, we're going to get 2 turnovers this game or 3 takeaways or however you want to verbalize it. But the way they generate turnovers falls in line with how they play stylistically and what their identity is philosophically as a defense. So again, you cannot predict it, but it's not surprising that they generate these turnovers. Yes.
Opportunity creates it. Yes.
Absolutely. And so would it be nice if they forced more 3-and-outs and forced more punts and had more non-turnover stops? Sure. But at the end of the day, again, it tends to balance out, and hopefully that ratio and that trend can potentially continue for this defense in conjunction with the offense. Again, that cannot be understated as well, or overstated, I should say. Yeah. This defense, a lot of the way they play is in conjunction in relation to how the offense plays and how they try to build those leads and how they try to attack and set themselves up and play off of one another. That complementary football aspect. The example we talked about all the time with those Colts teams. The Colts defense wasn't great, but they'd be up by 14 or 17 and the opponent has to pass. And now Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis are like, cool, guess what? We coming and we don't have to play the run because you got to pass the football. So it's those little complementary aspects for this team. And again, as they iron some things out going forward and into the playoffs, we will see what happens here. Erik, any final words on anything before we start to say goodbye to the people and put a bow on this week?
No, like I said, a divisional game late in the season. Didn't show too much as far as your cards on the table. I thought it was an ugly start. As we said, Patriots early on, their script was good, but I think the Bills defense and the Bills offense made the adjustments to pull out the dub.
Absolutely. And, speaking of dubs, maybe Josh Allen gets a dub when it comes to MVP this year. We have pulled up this tweet from our friends over at BetUS who had the NFL MVP updated odds, and you see Josh Allen sitting atop the mountain at minus 450. Lamar Jackson having a very good year. If Lamar's kind of fallen into that, even Saquon too, really the top 3, Allen, Lamar, and Barkley, all having tremendous years. Saquon continues to just crush it for Philly. Lamar is crushing it for Baltimore, has some fun pieces there as well. But Josh Allen, Erik, sits atop the MVP odds right now as we hit this final stretch of the season. And I know that MVP odds matter so tremendously much to you. So I wanted to give you the floor to talk about this.
I don't know how you look at, the top 3 I think are pretty strong. Like our dark horse has been Jared Goff. I think Joe Burrow has even closed the gap.
Yeah, Burrow.
He has. But I still think, all homerism aside, I do think Josh is doing the most with probably the least, especially if we're talking the top 3 guys there. And so I think he's just playing on another level, and we haven't seen those moments of duress where he's made dumb decisions. Like we said this, like I wish we could go back to the first discussion we had about the MVP race. And the thing that I said was, if Josh plays how he normally does, that's 40 plus touchdowns every year, but doesn't turn it over, they are going to have to hand it to him, because that was the only thing that stopped voters from making Josh the MVP. He's had the numbers, but he's had a lot of turnovers. Well, he took that ammo and bullet away from the media now and all the voters. So I just find it very difficult for him not to win it this year. And if he doesn't, shame on the voters. Shame on the voters. That's why I don't pay attention to them.
Yeah, fair. I'm gonna assume a poll like who wins MVP or a lot of these awards doesn't matter too much to me. I do think if Lamar won it, or if Saquon has a crazy final couple of weeks and breaks Eric Dickerson's rushing record, even though he'd have more games, I can understand it going to Saquon, especially if Hurts's concussion stays and Barkley just cruises Philly through these next couple of games. I understand the case for Lamar. I'd be fine if any of the top three guys win it. And you mentioned too, I know the year hasn't worked out for him. Joe Burrow is playing some really good football this year. And, again, what Cincinnati has been and what they are, I tell you though, I don't want to see them if they're the 7th seed somehow and it's Bills, I just don't want to see Cincinnati in the freaking playoffs. Like, I just don't want to.
There's a lot of experience, and whether you're talking to players or the coordinators there, right? As much as they've had their struggles on that defensive side of the ball, I mean, he's still one of the best DCs in the league, bro.
Big game Lou Anarumo. I just don't want it. And a lot of their struggles early on were because of health, and they've gotten healthier on the interior. And Burrow is just playing at an MVP level. He's having a great year. Jamar Chase is balling. But yeah, those top three led by Josh Allen. And I think the way you kind of put it in perspective, and I hate dinging guys for having other good guys on their team, but I mean, Lamar has Derrick Henry, and then Mark Andrews is a really good tight end, and they've got actually like a good complementary group of wide receivers. And then you go to Philly, and Jalen Hurts is good, and in addition to Saquon, and then you've got AJ Brown, and you've got Devonta Smith, and you've got one of the best offensive lines in football. Yeah, all this supporting cast. Joe Brady has been very good this year. James Cook has been sneaky elite.
Crazy, right?
Standpoint. They put that graphic up yesterday, 14 rushing touchdowns. I was like, oh, I guess I didn't friggin' realize that.
Right.
And a lot of them too are like 40 yards, 30 yards. He's having these explosive house calls. But really, it's been Allen being the straw that stirs the drink. I don't get how Mahomes is on this list, and I'm not just saying it because we're a Bill show. I don't understand. Fine, if you want to put him on there, go ahead. I don't get how he's on the list, but again, to each their own. Yeah, it seems like no jinx, fingers crossed, all that type of stuff. Seems like this is Allen's race to lose right now, and it doesn't look like he's going to be losing that race anytime soon as we go forward. And thank you to our friends at BetUS for providing this graphic. Again, if you are looking for a new sportsbook this football season, BetUS is the answer. Fastest payouts in the industry, a 150% bonus on your first deposit, and then a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits, up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. They have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year, live wagering on all major games, the best betting variety in the business. They allow you to get 10% back on your net losses twice a year, and they also can give you your very own personal account manager. Check out BetUS for all of your sportsbook and betting needs. And again, kudos to them for providing that graphic and the one earlier that they gave us. Erik, any parting words for the people as we start to say goodbye and move forward on this episode?
No, just huge thanks throughout this year. I know the season's not over, but happy holidays to everyone. Enjoy time with your family. That's something that is near and dear to our hearts. Being back home and everything, and having these days off to enjoy with our families. So thank you very much for all the support throughout this year and going forward. Enjoy the time, food and family and friends. It's as you get older, you start to realize like what's super important. And as much as we love football, our families come first. And we're glad that the Bills got a win against the Patriots. We're glad that, we're able to break down some film, some good, some bad for you. But we're also glad to get out of the way so that we can go enjoy time with our family and friends during this holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely. We we both have day jobs and
Mhm.
then we do this, and we don't do this to a casual level. There's a lot of work and preparation, especially from like the film studying standpoint that we
Mhm.
take it to. So it's nice to have these days and this holiday to really kind of put the family into focus even more than we already do, because we basically just sacrifice sleep in order to do this, plus day job plus family. So it's
I
nice to
know.
have 2 days off to be like, okay, can add a little more sleep to the regimen and
Yeah.
continue that focus. So yeah, major shout out to our families for helping us do what we do and
Mhm.
providing that support network and being in our lives, but also to you and yours, everybody who watches, whether you are a One Pass member and an insider, or if you watch on YouTube and you drop likes or you listen on the audio platforms, that's for this show or any show on the brand.
Mhm.
Any and every ounce of support you show, this brand, this channel, we are extremely thankful for. We are extremely appreciative of. And, even if you hate us and you're terrible, but you watch anyway or whatever, we hope you and your family and friends and loved ones have a great holiday and a great holiday time. If you're watching this video here on YouTube, I was going to say whether live now or later. We're not live, so it's all one time. Please drop a like on this video. It goes a long way towards helping us to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. Subscribe to the Cover One channel. Turn on notifications for the Film Room playlist. If you're listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, rate, review, subscribe. Also, if you are, in the Spotify world, got some video coming
Yeah.
through. An awesome feature from Spotify. So if you're watching there, feel free to give us some feedback. Let us know how it's going. If you like that, if you don't care and you're coming to YouTube anyway, whatever you want to do, we love that feedback and that real time system, that they've developed there and what you folks can do. And again, however you're listening, watching, view, listen, like, download, rate, subscription, all that kind of stuff. We greatly appreciate it. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about the show, about the brand, about the channel. Word of mouth and that organic buzz is what got this brand in a lot of ways to the spot that it's in now. So again, we're greatly appreciative for all you folks in whatever form or fashion your support comes in. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. Enjoy this Christmas Eve and Christmas. If you have an extended holiday break, that's awesome. Enjoy the hell out of that. For yourselves and your family and friends and loved ones. Thank you again to our friends at Easy Loan Auto Sales for partnering with us again for this episode. And this episode was also, again, sponsored by our friends at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Thank you very much to them for both graphics from their continued partnership with the brand this year. That'll do it for us in this holiday edition of the Cover One Film Room. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, for Erik Turner, that'll do it for us. We'll see you next week for another episode. And until then, Godspeed, Merry Christmas, and as always, go Bills.